So we're going to jump over here to anatomy here, and I'm going to show you some 3D graphics. And so just kind of show you. So I've kind of got our guy, he's a little bit skinned here. So sorry to startle you for those of you that weren't expecting that, but we wanted to get him ready to go for you so that we could actually show you some very interesting things here. And so, so basically what you'll notice here, as I zoom in, I'm going to click on that. Now I've got quite a lot of muscle here. So all the red areas are muscles, and I'm going to click on these to really show you that is the supraspinatus, and we're going to zoom in to that, and you can actually look over the top of the shoulder, which is why I love this application. You can see how far this goes over to the shoulder blade. We're going to come down and look across the back. So if someone's massaging your shoulders and they put their hand on your shoulder and they put their thumb right there, that's about where that thumb is going to land if they're massaging your shoulder. So you're familiar with that, and that typically feels pretty good when someone does that, and that's massaging that muscle right there. And then down just under that, you've got the infraspinatus, the second most common one that we're concerned about in terms of causing pain and injury. So these two are critical. So if you were to raise your arm up and stretch out like this, okay, that's exactly the muscle groups that are doing that. And you can see here why we call it a cuff. And I'm going to do a thing where I can actually multi-select and kind of give you an idea, why we call it a cuff. So I'm multi-selecting all the tendons that make up, well, not that one. Try to get that selected there. Okay, now I've got it. And now I can actually isolate this and watch what happens. So the bones will disappear, and then you'll see just the muscles. So see there? So you can really see how it almost reaches out like 4 fingers and grabs that arm bone, and that is what a rotator cuff is. And I really think this is just a great illustration to help you understand. And again, this right here is the one that gives us the most trouble over the top, and then the second most, and then third most would be this subscapularis here that is on the underside, and then the bone literally fits in between. All right, so rotator cuff tear. You know, a lot of people think, oh, I've got a rotator cuff tear, and they're imagining this, okay? So they're thinking, boy, this rope is just torn apart or it's completely intact. That's just not the reality that we see in practice. And anybody who actually works on the shoulder really gets a much more intimate understanding that there are many, many levels in between these. And let me show you what I mean, okay? The reality is more like this. And so what we're looking at here is everything from a completely intact to a essentially slightly rough, right? This is kind of some early fraying, we would consider that. And then here it's a little more, and then you can see, boy, you're just barely hanging on by a thread, and then you get a rupture. It's actually much less common for the average person to go from the top to the bottom, okay? You just don't typically see patients go from one to the other. But when you have this fraying and this tearing, it does progress to a point over time, typically, that can get to this level. So if we can catch it when we're back here, we have a much better chance of healing that with a conservative methodology. Once it's to this point, I'll be the first to tell you that, a retracted, complete thickness, tear, and retraction of the tendon is going to be, difficult or really impossible to repair using a non-surgical methodology. And also, the time clock starts ticking on that once it's a complete retracted tear. That's why diagnosis is important. You don't want to sit on this because we want to catch it back here before it becomes this. And then if it stays like this too long, your recovery, even with surgery, the outcomes are to go way down.